I welcome all Laravel fans to the CutCode channel. Today we are launching a new section which I think should be extremely useful and interesting for everyone who uses Laravel in their projects. The rubric is called Laravel Under the Hood, and I think everything is clear from the name. We will go through the basics of Laravel from topic to topic, but not just how to use it, but how it works. What the code looks like, everything step by step, but do not worry, we will not consider each line of code, not at all, but we will clearly understand what and how. And we will start, friends. The most important topic, in my opinion, which just every Laravel developer should know. And if you just started to get acquainted with Laravel and came from another framework, then this will be a guide for you to quickly get involved in this world. In any case, it will be interesting to everyone, at least I will try. Fingers to the start, let's go! Friends, we start the journey with a classic Laravel web application, and its basis is HTTP requests. There is also an entry point for the console application, but we will talk about this another time. As soon as we drive the address of our application into the browser, we launch the request lifecycle inside our project with Laravel, and now we'll talk about this in detail. Remember that this is the basis of a web project, and therefore we start with this topic. And not only you start the path of requests by driving the address into the browser, but also each client of your project will launch exactly the same path. A small digression, I already installed Laravel 9, and if you have Laravel versions below, then the code structure may be slightly different. Keep this in mind. So let's hit the road with our request. Let's start with a PHP virtual server, artisan, serve, great. Next, let's go to the URL, and now we have already launched the request lifecycle. It has already made a journey through the Laravel framework and passed the button to the response in which we see our HTML page. Each time we refresh the page, we again send a request to the journey. Let's walk along with the request step by step. The entry point of our web application for the request is the index.php file, which is located in the public directory. At the very beginning of this file, the Laravel start constant is declared, with the time of the moment our application was launched. Laravel itself does not use this constant, but for debugging, say in a debug bar, or a telescope, it is used to track how much time it took for a particular operation. Next, here we check for the presence of the maintenance file, and if it is present, we include it. Everything is simple here. When we say that those works are being carried out on our side by executing the PHP artisan down command, then Laravel just creates this file by default. It is not here. And if we go to the browser and refresh, we will see that our application is not available, since technical work is underway right now. If we go back and specify instead of down, up, the watch file will be deleted. This logic will not work, and we will see the already familiar page. Further, friends, the most important thing is happening on this line. Until this moment, right here, we don't have any Laravel framework, and after that is already connected, but it doesn't work yet. It is waiting for the launch. In addition to Laravel, here we also include all the dependencies that are installed using Composer. Well, I think you already know this. Next, here in Bootstrap, APHP, we prepare our application to run. We start the container service in Laravel and apply important binds. If what I just said confused you, then be sure to watch the video on the service container on my channel, since we will not touch this topic now, but we will return to the APHP file a bit later. Further, friends, on this line we create the core of our Laravel framework and indicate which one. In this case, we will just indicate that we will work with HTTP requests. If we look at the class that are passing here, we will see that this is an interface and just again the topic of container service and dependency injection in Laravel. Let's now go back to Bootstrap HP, which we talked about a while ago. Let's go into it, and here we will just see that we are binding this interface, which we recently considered with a specific class about the HTTP kernel. Let's move on to it. Those who have already worked with Laravel know it very well. Here we connect middleware, and we will talk about them later. In general, this is the core of our application for working with HTTP requests, and here is its parent class. Okay. Friends, let's go back to index.php and dump this kernel variable. Let's open the browser, refresh, and we see our application here. Web. We have binds from the service container that we just discussed with you, plus additional bootstrappers from Laravel, which we talk about a little later, and middleware. In general, everything you need to work with our request during this journey. Friends, let's move on to the most interesting part, transforming our requests into a response and displaying the result. Let's first take a look at the capture method and dump the result. We see that our previously raw HTTP request has been transformed into request object. Those who work with Laravel also know this object well. Let's look inside this method, and here we will not delve into the process of transformation from the Symfony, but let's take a look at this method. Here we are talking about feature Laravel, when we can implement sending a web form on a metadom site, either delete or delete, although everyone knows that forms only support GET and POST. But with the help of Laravel, these can be bypassed, and this feature is just included in this method. Here inside, for now, we just put a flag that we will have such an opportunity. Let's go back to the PHP index and now dump the result of the handle method. Let's go back to the browser, refresh, and see here the object with a response, that is, the lifecycle of our request is completed. He passed the button responser to the response, and here we already see our HTML page in the content. Further, if we add the send method, then our page will be displayed in the browser. This logic is followed by the terminate method, and if we look into the middleware documentation, we will see such a terminable middleware section. And here, when we connect to the kernel middleware before, and if any of them implement the terminate method, then in this method we will go through them after the answers browser and perform some action if we need it. Yes, about middleware a little later. Now, friends, the thick of things for our request, before it passes the button to the response, and just it is located in the handle method. Let's analyze it. So, let's fall into the handle method. The IDE does not help us in this matter, since Laravel magic is present here, but we know where this file is located. We have already looked at it, our APHP kernel, its parent class, and here, let's look for the handle method. Here we have it. In just 2 lines, the main logic is executed. If any errors occur, then we display them here. 400 for either debug third bar or report in some party service. And then we also pull events that the request has been completed, and then we already give a response. With this, I think everything is clear. Here we once again add the ability, that is, we switch the flag to add to Laravel in support of forms, not only get and post, but also using a special directive, pass a parameter and enable the put delete mode and so on. And then we move on to this method. What's going on here? First, the bootstrap method. Let's go back to index.php and print kernel again. Here we see bootstrappers. It's in this method that we connect them. They are responsible for, say, loading variables from env files, loading config exception of registering service provider facades, and starting providers. That is, just at this moment in the bootstrap method we organize these bootstrappers, and then through the pipeline. Who doesn't know what a pipeline is? There is a lesson about the pipeline on my channel. Be sure to check it out. The bottom line is that we take a request and pass it through all the middleware, which we'll talk about now. And in the end, when it goes through all the middleware, if everything goes well, we will execute the next method. Let's talk about middleware now. What is it? They are located in our HTTP middleware AP directory, and the files that we have already considered kernel. Here we see the middleware through which every request passes without exception. All requests will go through this middleware group. And then we connect the middleware by root groups for the web application, for the application API, if we have it. And also for convenience, here we can set a readable alias for our middleware. What is middleware in general? Let's open one. It will do. In general, each middleware has a handle method, where we perform any actions on the request. We cannot skip those requests, then either modify it somehow, or as in the example here, add some kind of or a variable, anything, and send a request, then the next middleware. That is, this is such a middle lifecycle of our request, where we cannot affect the request in any way. We can modify it, we can modify something from the outside, or in general, stop our application and say a 404 error response or something like that. These are interesting middlewares and they are present in Laravel by default. Let's go back to the handle method. Let's say again that we have a pipeline that request sends through the entire set of middleware. And then if everything is fine, go to the router. Let's follow into this method. Then into dispatch request. Dispatch to route continue to go through all these methods. And here is the most interesting thing. Firstly, our routers are located in the route directory and are divided into files here. These files are connected to the provider, route service provider. And here we indicate what we have. There is a default for the API and the web. Let's open it right away to clearly see the root web. Here we have only one rule. Let's go back to the router and consider the find row method, where we will search for our request which is currently traveling, which particular route suits it. And here we need a match method. Let's also fall into it. So we fell into the interface, the IDE. The IDE did not understand me. Here they are routes. Initially we are looking for all routes for the current request type. The default request type is GET. Let's see what we have here. So I will initially ask Windows PHP something else. Let's take it away. Let's go back and see all the routes that support the GET request type. Just here, it is our route for the main one. Everything else we got came from a group of routes via API. Let's take a look at vphp again and just see that yes, we have route. Yes, it's a GET request type. And the O has a /main page. That is, everything fits. We have such a route. We received all of them at the current request. And further in this method, we have already chosen a specific one based on the rules of the route. That is, we have a main page, a request with a /, which means we will just go here. Let's see. Refresh the page and we have the main page displayed. It's just this moment. We got into the route, our request got here and already displayed some fork, changed to response. Friends, here is such an interesting path through the Laravel framework before being transformed into response. Now you know how it works, and I think your thinking is also transformed to a higher level. You and I quite briefly walked through the middleware, even more quickly through the huge road system, took a little look at the Buicks. I will also tell you all these topics separately in the Laravel Under the Hood section. and I will also write a big text guide in this vein. And as soon as we finish, I will present it to your attention and add it to the description of all the videos in this section. Friends, but be sure to support the channel with a like and write a comment on how you like this section. Is it worth it? And if it is useful? That's all. Thank you for watching. The learning process is endless and that's great. So, we will see you in the next video on the CutCode channel.